The only real shift you need to enter a new timeline begins with awareness. Awareness is not something you chase outside yourself. It is already within you, waiting to be activated. Most people live their lives on autopilot, repeating the same patterns day after day, unaware that their thoughts and habits are shaping their future before it even arrives. They wonder why nothing changes, why the same struggles keep returning, why opportunities seem to pass them by. It is because they are locked in the same cycle, and that cycle is maintained by unconscious living. The moment you become aware, everything changes. You suddenly see the thoughts that once controlled you. You recognize the emotions that rise and fall within you instead of being swept away by them. You notice how your environment influences you, how certain people or routines either drain your energy or fuel your growth. That single spark of awareness is powerful because it gives you choice. Without awareness, you are reacting. With awareness, you are creating. Awareness creates space. It allows you to pause between the trigger and your reaction, between fear and action, between doubt and courage. In that space lies the power to choose a different response, a different behavior, a different path. That choice is the key to stepping into a new timeline, because a timeline is not some faraway reality. It is simply the outcome of the choices you repeatedly make. By choosing differently, you begin to walk a new path, and that path unfolds into a new life. Think about it. The smallest shift in awareness can ripple into every corner of your existence. When you become aware that your thoughts are negative, you can redirect them toward possibilities. When you notice you are clinging to the past, you can let go and open space for the future. When you realize your focus is on problems, you can move it to solutions. Each of these moments may feel small, but together they create a new frequency, a new energy, a new version of yourself. And once you shift the inner state, the outer world cannot remain the same. Many people believe that to change their lives, they must fight harder, work longer, or wait for luck. But the truth is, change begins in the silence of awareness. It begins with noticing where you are, seeing it clearly, and then choosing differently. This is why awareness is the only shift you truly need. Without it, you stay trapped in cycles you don't even see. With it, you break free and begin to create consciously, deliberately, powerfully. When you wake up to yourself, you step into a new possibility. You begin to live not as a prisoner of your past, but as the author of your future. That is the essence of entering a new timeline, not through force, not through waiting, but through awareness. Awareness creates reality. To step into a new timeline, you must be willing to detach from the old story that has kept you bound. Every person carries with them an identity shaped by past experiences, by the labels society has placed upon them, and by the limits they have unconsciously accepted as truth. These stories may feel familiar, even comfortable, but they also act like chains, keeping you repeating the same cycles over and over again. You cannot move forward while holding tightly to the past version of yourself. You cannot enter a new reality while still carrying the weight of the old one. The old story is often disguised as safety. It whispers to you that you are this type of person, from this kind of background, capable only of certain things. It tells you that because you failed once, you are destined to fail again. It convinces you that your worth is measured by what others think or what you have achieved. But these stories are illusions, and they become prisons if you do not release them. The shift into a new timeline begins when you say, I am not my past, I am not my failures, I am not these labels. Detaching from the old story does not mean denying your history or pretending it never happened. It means no longer letting it define the possibilities of your future. Every past version of you was necessary to bring you here, but it is not required to take you where you are going next. To shift timelines, you must loosen your grip on these identities and allow yourself to be more than the roles you have played. This detachment often requires courage because the unknown can feel terrifying. The old story is predictable even when it hurts. The new timeline asks you to step into uncertainty, to embrace the blank page where you are free to create something new. Many resist this because they fear losing who they are, But the truth is, who you really are has never been fully expressed. Only by letting go of the old definitions can the deeper self, the limitless self, emerge. The more you detach, the lighter you become. The weight of regret, fear, shame, and limitation begins to fall away. You start to see that the only thing holding you back was your belief in a story that no longer serves you. In this space of release, new opportunities begin to appear. People, places, and experiences that resonate with your higher self come into alignment. What once seemed impossible becomes natural because you are no longer chained to who you thought you were. This is the essence of the shift, to leave behind the narrative that keeps you small and to embrace the infinite possibility of who you can become. The moment you let go of the old story, you step into a timeline where you are free to write a new one. Detach from the old story. Shifting timelines does not always require massive external changes. It begins with something much simpler and yet infinitely powerful: the way you perceive life. Perception is the lens through which you interpret every moment, and that interpretation shapes your experience of reality. Two people can face the same challenge, yet one sees defeat while the other sees opportunity. The situation is the same, but the timeline each person steps into is completely different, because perception has the power to change everything. When you shift your perception, you shift your life. Many people live believing that circumstances determine how they feel, but in truth, it is how you choose to interpret those circumstances that defines your experience. If you see obstacles as punishments, life feels heavy and unfair. But if you see them as lessons and stepping stones, they become fuel for growth. Nothing in the external world has meaning until you give it meaning. And the meaning you choose decides which path unfolds before you. This is why some people remain stuck while others move forward. The difference is not always in the resources they have, but in how they see. A failure can be the end of the road, or it can be the beginning of reinvention. Rejection can be proof that you are not good enough, or it can be guidance redirecting you toward where you truly belong. Every time you choose a higher interpretation, you create a new possibility. Every time you rise above negativity and see through the eyes of growth, you take a step into a new timeline. Changing perception also means becoming aware of the filters you carry. Perhaps you were raised to believe that life is a constant struggle, or that success is reserved for others, or that you must play small to be accepted. These filters color how you view every situation. But the moment you realize they are just beliefs, not absolute truths, you gain the power to remove them. You can replace them with a lens that sees abundance instead of lack, opportunity instead of limitation, connection instead of isolation. And as soon as you do, the world responds differently, because you are no longer aligned with the same patterns as before. This is why perception is the bridge between the old and the new. The external world may appear unchanged at first, but the shift inside you begins to magnetize different outcomes. The conversations you attract shift, the choices you make change, the way you carry yourself evolves, and gradually, the reality around you reshapes itself to match the new vision you hold. A new timeline is not waiting somewhere far away. It begins in the moment you decide to see differently. Change your perception, and you will notice life opening doors where once you only saw walls. That is the true power of awareness in action. By shifting how you see, you shift where you are going. Shift in perception, shift in life. Energy always follows focus, and this is one of the most powerful truths you can embody if you want to enter a new timeline. Wherever your attention goes, your energy flows. Whatever you consistently give your mental, emotional, and spiritual energy to becomes the reality you step into. The challenge is that most people do not consciously choose where they focus. Their attention is scattered, pulled by distractions, fears, and external noise. They wonder why life feels chaotic, yet they have allowed their focus to feed the very chaos they wish to escape. Think about this. If you constantly focus on what is wrong, your energy strengthens those problems. If your attention is always on the past, your energy cannot move forward. If your focus is only on fear and limitation, You feed that vibration until it becomes the only reality you know. But the moment you redirect your focus, the quality of your energy changes, and so does the timeline you are walking into. Your focus is like sunlight. When it is scattered, it warms but does not transform. But when it is concentrated, it has the power to ignite fire. The same is true with your life. Scattered focus leaves you stuck in cycles of distraction. Concentrated focus creates transformation. By choosing to give your attention to growth, to gratitude, to vision, to possibility, you begin to ignite the fire of a new reality. This is not just a mental shift, it is energetic. The vibration of your focus sends signals to life itself, aligning you with outcomes that match the energy you project. This is why awareness and detachment, the earlier shifts, are so important. Once you are aware of your old patterns and detached from the old story, you can consciously choose where to place your focus. You begin to see that every moment is a choice. Do you give your energy to fear, or do you give it to faith? Do you dwell in problems, or do you focus on solutions? Do you nurture self-doubt, or do you cultivate inner strength? Each choice directs your energy, and your energy builds the timeline ahead of you. When you focus on what empowers you, life begins to reflect that back. The opportunities you notice change. The people you meet shift. The synchronicities that appear align with the vision you are holding. Nothing mystical, simply energy following focus, and focus creating reality. And once you see this working in your life, you realize that you are not a victim of timelines, but a creator of them. The key is consistency. One moment of positive focus is powerful, but sustained focus is transformative. The more you align your attention with the reality you want to live, the faster that reality takes form. The new timeline is already waiting. Your focus is the bridge that carries you into it. Energy follows focus. To enter a new timeline, you cannot simply wait for life to deliver change. You must embody the future now. Too many people carry dreams like distant stars, something they hope to reach one day, something they will begin to live once circumstances improve or once they feel ready. But the truth is, that day never arrives unless you decide to live it today. A new timeline is not something you stumble into. It is something you embody by becoming the version of yourself who already exists there. Think about it. Every timeline is tied to a version of you. There is a version that clings to the past, repeating old patterns. There is a version that hesitates, doubts, and waits for permission. And there is a version that already embodies strength, clarity, and confidence. The version who lives in the timeline you long for. The shift comes when you stop waiting to feel like that version and begin acting as them right now. Embodying the future means aligning your thoughts, emotions, and actions with the person you want to become, even before external results show up. If you want to live with confidence, you practice carrying yourself with confidence now. If you want abundance, you practice gratitude and generosity now. If you want peace, you create moments of stillness now. You are not pretending, you are rehearsing the energy of your future until it becomes your present. And the more you embody it, the faster reality reshapes itself around you. This embodiment also removes the gap between who you think you are and who you want to be. Many people live in constant waiting, waiting for success before feeling worthy, waiting for love before feeling whole, waiting for external signs before believing change is possible. But life mirrors who you are being, not who you are hoping to be. When you embody the future now, you collapse the waiting. You stop projecting your desires outward and start generating them from within. This is the signal that calls in the new timeline. Of course, it requires courage. At first, it may feel strange to act as though the future is already here. Doubt may whisper that you are lying to yourself. But the truth is, you are not lying, you are remembering. You are aligning with a version of yourself that already exists in potential, and by embodying it, you pull that version into form. This is not about forcing life to change instantly. It is about shifting your vibration so that life has no choice but to respond. When you live this way, doors begin to open where once there were walls. The opportunities align with the energy you are projecting. The relationships you attract reflect the frequency you are living. What once seemed impossible becomes inevitable because you are no longer waiting for change. You are being it. Embody the future now. Trust is the final bridge you must cross if you want to step fully into a new timeline. You can have awareness, release the old story, shift perception, focus your energy, and even begin to embody the future now. But without trust, the mind will keep pulling you back into fear. Trust means surrendering control, letting go of the need to know every step, and believing that once you make the inner shift, life will align in ways you cannot yet see. It is faith in action, a deep knowing that you are supported even in the unknown. Most people hesitate here because the old timeline feels familiar. It might be uncomfortable, but at least it is predictable. The new timeline, however, is uncharted territory. You don't know how it will unfold. You don't know what challenges will appear, and you don't know exactly when results will show. The ego resists this uncertainty, whispering that you are safer clinging to what you know. But trust asks you to leap without needing proof, to walk forward even when the path is not visible. This leap is not blind. It is based on the understanding that life is responsive to your inner state. When you shift who you are being, the external world eventually reflects it. But there is always a gap between planting the seed and harvesting the fruit. Trust is what carries you through that gap. It is the patience to keep watering, the courage to keep embodying the new self, even before evidence shows up. Without trust, you dig up the seed every day to check if it's growing. With trust, you nurture it knowing it will bloom in its own time. Trust also means letting go of forcing outcomes. In the old timeline, you may have tried to control every detail, manipulate every situation, or chase results with anxiety. But in the new timeline, you act from alignment and allow life to meet you halfway. You do your part, staying aware, focused, and embodied, but you no longer grasp desperately for control. You trust the unseen forces, the synchronicities, the timing that is beyond your planning. This does not make you passive. It makes you powerful because your energy is no longer wasted in resistance. The more you trust, the more fluid life becomes. Opportunities arise without struggle. The right people appear at the right time. Even challenges lose their weight because you trust they are shaping you for the greater path ahead. Trust transforms fear into curiosity, turns obstacles into guidance, and makes uncertainty an adventure rather than a threat. It is the final key that locks you into the new timeline because it keeps you from running back to the safety of the old. The new reality will not always appear instantly, but with trust, you stay aligned long enough to let it unfold. And when it does, you realize the shift was never about waiting for the world to change. It was about changing yourself and trusting life to meet you there. Trust the unseen.